Welcome back to the Friday Golf Podcast. I am your host, Andy Johnson. I am really excited about today's episode. I was on vacation last week, but while on vacation, I might have gotten some glares from my partner, who was looking at me and she was wondering, why are you locked into golf? Why are you just captivated by this golf tournament? You're supposed to be unplugging. That tournament was the USAM at Olympic Club. God, I love match play golf. It is such a fun format, and the USAM is one of my favorite tournaments of the year. So this is going to be a USAM-centric podcast. We're excited to be joined by two competitors, two players that made match play, two players on the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of their aspirations with golf. We have Mason Howell, the U.S. Amateur Champion, the 2025 U.S. Amateur Champion. He is heading into his senior year of high school. He will be attending the University of Georgia. He ended up winning the USAM, kind of putting a cherry on top of a tremendous year in amateur golf, where he really burst onto the scene. Excited to chat with him about what's been going on in his golf game and the USAM. And we are also joined by Mid-Am extraordinaire Andrew Bailey. Andrew works at Holderness and Bourne, a clothing company, but also a golf clothing company, but also is a tremendous player. He played golf at Cleveland State. Played a couple years of professional golf before deciding he was a working Joe. I met Andrew probably about 8 or 9 years ago in a Cleveland dive bar. And we played golf the next morning, and he ended up contributing a little bit to the Fried Egg website. He wrote a few articles, and since then has become one of the best mid-ams in the world of golf. He made it to the round of 32 in this year's USAM, and he's got a good eye for courses, and was fun to chat with him about his experience out at Olympic Club. So we will get to that, but first, this episode is brought to you by Club Champion. We are excited to have them partner again in 2025, and if you're looking to improve your game, Club Champion is the spot to do it. I will say, watching Olympic Club, you had the fog, you had the uneven lies. The best way to dial in your equipment for that stuff, best way to hit your yardages, the best way to be able to handle the wind is having your clubs fit by some of the best fitters in the world. In terms of across any brand, they have the most highly trained fitters in the world. Their in-house university trains every fitter. And they have continued education for manufacturers to stay up to date on all their newest innovations. These guys, they fit all day, every day. And they have stores that stock over 65 brands, which equates to nearly 70,000 different head and shaft combinations. I say this to everybody when they ask me to get where they should get clubs, what they should do with clubs. Go get fit. You come into it with like the idea of like, hey, I'm really want to have a Callaway driver or a TaylorMade driver. I really want to, I went into a fitting. I used to have a set of Mizuno irons. I always want Mizuno irons. And then you try everything and you might realize a different set of irons is better for you. I went from Mizuno MP60 32 combo set to a Callaway Apex Pros. And then I, most recently got fit into some PXGs. I did not expect that, but that's what I have. So that's 70,000 different head and shaft combinations. Make sure that you are going to get the best set for you. So right now, Club Champion has a nice deal for you. If you go to clubchampion.com/friedegg, you will get a free driver or iron fitting with a club purchase if you use the promo code FRIEDEGG, all one word. So go to clubchampion.com/friedegg, use that promo code FRIEDEGG, and you get a free driver or iron fitting with a club purchase. Thanks to Club Champion. And let's get to our podcast here. All right, Mason, week 0, NCAA football starts this week. You're going to Georgia next year. Are you a big Dog fan?
Oh, absolutely. I've been keeping up with Georgia football since I was like 4 years old.
You had a nice run. What's the season outlook here for the Dogs? What are you Look, give us one thing you're excited about, one thing you're a little worried. What are you apprehensive about?
I'm really obviously I'm really excited just for the season to start. I feel like once it ends, it went by like that. Um, no, but I'm excited this year. I feel like we have a lot of young talent and a lot of new talent through the transfer portal. Um, and yeah, it should be exciting. I'm gonna be good to see how Gunnar Stockton does in his first full year, taking over Beck's spot. In my opinion, no shade at Carson Beck, but I do think Gunner's the better quarterback. He gets the team a little bit more around him.
It felt like when he came in last year, there was like a little bit of a spark, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think he's a little bit more of a dual threat quarterback. He's a little bit better on his legs, and our defense should be pretty strong. Maybe not as strong as it was when we won those two national championships, but I still think it's going to be good. Kirby definitely specializes on the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this football season. Going to try to make it to a couple games.
Yeah, that was going to ask. Will you go down there for a few games? Do you have anything circled? I imagine the golf program. You'll be able to get out there for a couple games.
Yeah, hopefully. I think I'm going to go to the Georgia Alabama game. That feels like a must. Georgia Texas, and then maybe Georgia Ole Miss. So looking forward to those.
That's exciting. What in terms of Georgia, you grew up a fan. What was it like your recruitment and going and picking Georgia? Was that kind of an easy decision, or what went into you selecting to go to Georgia?
I tried to go into recruiting with an open mind, even though I own like 5 Georgia football jerseys. Um, so I mean, I looked at other places, took visits to other places, and I just I really liked what Georgia. They have so much history in golf. It's not like it's just because I'm going because of the football team. The golf team has so many great tour players, and the coaches have so much experience and knowledge. And then I'm really looking forward to the guys that I'm coming in with. I know you saw Hamilton Coleman won the Junior Am, and he will be my roommate. So that's we're pretty pumped about that. And yeah, we got some other guys, and yeah, it should be pretty special up in Athens.
Yeah, that's I think like when I think about college golf, if I were somebody in a position like you were in, or others, is you begin to look at like, hey, like what have some of the people done on tour? And I think like, I mean, as somebody who watches every single PGA Tour telecast, it is crazy how often, and I think we kind of make a joke of it on my other podcast, the Shotgun Start, how often it's just like, oh, he's a Georgia Bulldog, but there are so many guys out there from Georgia. The program has had a immense success at turning out PGA Tour players. In terms of you and your career, I think like obviously you're heading into your senior year. There hasn't been a lot of time for golf fans to get to know you, but this summer, you really burst on the scene. You had the USAM qualifying, shooting 63-63 at Piedmont Driving Club. You were the medalist at the US Junior, and now you kind of cap off your summer with the USAM title, a tremendous honor. You're the third youngest USAM winner ever. Was there something going into this year that really clicked with your golf game, or something recently that really you feel like has taken you to a new level?
Over the last year, I feel like I've really gotten better. I just hadn't shot some of the scores that I was hoping to in competition. Kind of one of those things, able to produce the scores at home, just not much in competition on the road. But yeah, it was just a confidence thing. And shooting 63-63 in that U.S. Open qualifier gave me the confidence that I needed that I'm able to do it. And then going to Oakmont and playing that tournament, showing that my game is able to hang with some of the pros. Yeah, that gave me a lot more confidence. And I try to use it all as a learning experience and bleed it over into other tournaments. And yeah, I mean, obviously there have been some tournaments this summer still that I was a little disappointed in, but I'm just glad this past week everything seemed to click.
I mean, the thing about golf is, everybody's always seeking consistency, and it's the hardest part about the game, right? Is playing week in, week out, great golf, and it's something that you used to hear Tiger talk about. Like, I'm just trying to be more consistent. So, with the U.S. Open experience and playing the U.S. Open, what getting obviously you've played against the best juniors in the world. You've played against the best amateurs in the world before that US Open. What did you take away from playing that US Open and seeing the pros, and I assume playing some practice rounds with some pros up close? Like, what were your kind of takeaways from that?
I took away that those guys are really good. No, I mean everybody knows they're pros. They're pros for a reason. Um, but I went going into it. I wanted to learn as much as possible, so I played in some practice rounds with some big name pros. I played with Harrison English, Tony Finau, and I just tried to use it as much to pick their brain. And yeah, I mean, I feel like those guys are. I mean, they're just so golf minded. I mean, they're great, and they're also great humans. Like Harris and Tony are two of the best guys like on tour just as people, and then they're so good at the same time. And it's just about having a healthy balance of life and golf at the same time. Because I feel like you see a lot of young professionals just wear themselves down, and they might be rising stars and they just don't live up to the hype. But no, Oakmont was the best thing for my golf game. I was able to take away so much, and especially playing a place like Oakmont, you learn to not frustrate. You can get frustrated easy. So I feel like going into other tournaments, I've kind of learned a little bit to keep my emotions in check, and if you keep a positive attitude, good things will come.
Yeah, and you played not terrible at Oakmont. It wasn't, it's one of those things you hug around, as you said. You can see in the way golf works is, I'm sure you walked off the golf course and said, I could have saved a shot or two here, or a shot or two there, and you weren't that far away. In terms of balance, obviously, I think like you see Scotty Scheffler talking about balance so often, number one player in the world. And I think he creates a lot of balance through his family. He obviously is very outspoken about his faith, but having a kid at someone your age, what are you doing to create balance with your life with golf?
No, absolutely. So I actually just got back from my first day at school this year. I missed the first week and a half because of the
I
USAM.
figured with the record time, we're getting
Yeah,
you post
the,
school.
the, 4 p.m. is the post school. No, but yeah, I just having a lot of good buddies. Like I go fishing all the time. Like over the summer when I'm not having school, it is easy for myself to want to go out to the golf course every single day, but I mean, that can sometimes just get tiring. So I'll go fishing with my buddies a lot. A couple days before the USAM, I went back to the high school and played like 2.5 hours of pickup basketball with my friends. And yeah, it's obviously one of those things you don't want to get hurt, but um, yeah, it's just having fun outside of golf because the practice can be tough, and it's just how you balance it.
What tell us a little bit about your athletic career before this. You said play pickup basketball. You're a big Dogs fan. What in your life? What sports have you played? And when did really an intense focus on golf start?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was growing up, I was one of those kids that tried everything. Football. I played basketball throughout until seventh grade, I think. But I actually grew up until like I was 12, maybe playing competitive tennis and like golf tournaments at the same time. But I think I really started focusing on golf maybe when I was like 13, when I started to play well in tournaments. I was like, this is what I need to stick to. This is what I'm best at. And yeah, I think it's been
It's
the
turning
right
out.
decision. Yeah.
um, with the with the tennis, I think that's an interesting two sports, right? Where they're both individual sports. You're kind of just it's you versus in tennis an opponent, and on the in stroke play at least it's you versus the golf course. What do you think are the things that the tennis background has helped lend to your golf game?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I find myself playing a team sport, I just find myself like I'm not a team player. I like to do things on my own. No, but
Well, you got to be a team player of the Walker Cup.
yeah, no, I mean, I can control I'm playing my own ball pretty much, for the most part. And, but that's so much different than playing on like a basketball team where you sometimes you have to pass the ball. No, tennis is, tennis was always good because it kept me in really good shape. Because believe like tennis is like physically grueling. People don't really give those guys enough credit. Um, but I was like most of the time working one on one with a tennis coach, and it's kind of the same thing in golf. And yeah, it's almost the same mentality in tennis. You're just doesn't matter the outcome of the tournament. You should just be focused on your one match. And that transitions really well to match play in golf.
As I've always thought, the best parallel to match play is tennis, right?
Absolutely.
Where you have different players play different styles. There's obviously always an advantage to be a long hitter in golf, but in match play, if you're shorter, you can apply pressure from being 5 yards behind your opponent because sometimes I've found myself in my limited match play career like where hey, you know what? I'm kind of happy I'm like a yard behind this guy because I get to hit first and put the pressure on him. It is similar in tennis where you have, people that are great returners or you have a big first serve, but then, the advantages and then the kind of back and forth nature of it are so similar.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're a better putter, it's like in golf, and you have 15 feet, and your opponent has 12 feet, you want to putt first. You'll be able to. You feel like you can make it and put some pressure on that 12-footer. Um,
I mean, there's nothing better than when you get to a green and you're just fractionally away.
yeah, exactly. Other than if you're on the same line, give them a read. That's a
Yeah.
little annoying match play. But no, that happened a lot at Olympic Club where I felt like on some putts I was able to put some pressure on my opponents by going first.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Olympic Club. You get there. Had you been to Olympic Club before?
That was my first time, and I absolutely loved it. Ocean and lake.
What was it about the place that you particularly were most fond of?
I really like golf courses that have thick rough like that, and fast greens. I mean, it's a U.S. Open venue, so it really puts an emphasis on driving. And this is not knocking the U.S. Junior Trinity Forest at all, but Trinity Forest barely has any rough, so it doesn't really matter where you hit off the tee, and that just almost boils it down to a putting contest. Whereas Olympic Club, if your opponent sprays into the rough, you've got a pretty good feeling that par might win the hole. It was a really good golf course that kind of challenged all 14 clubs in your bag, and I kind of like that. I feel like it plays to my strengths a little bit.
Yeah, I think that it's that golf course puts such a premium on tee to green play between just the the rough they had there. But there, I think one of the important things with that is there's enough space out there to hit fairways, right? You feel like you can achievably hit fairways. There's a couple there with the camber that's really you have to hit a really tremendous drive to hit a fairway. But like for the most part, you're like, I can hit this fairway. And then I think that one of the things I've really grown to appreciate is like you just can't fake it there. If your swing's a little bit off with the lies you get in fairways out there, it is going to eat your lunch.
Absolutely. No, and that was one thing. I feel like that was probably the best ball striking week I've had in my golf career. Um, yeah, that helped with my yardages, and the greens aren't very big. You feel like you don't have too many 40-foot putts out there, and they might be long, but they're super skinny. Like hole 18, even though it's a wedge, you only have like 25 feet from each side of the green, so you really gotta be super precise.
When you think about the week, and I think like you talk about like just micro moments. I think like you see this in the pro game so often in majors is it's not necessarily like the great eagle or the birdie on 15, but more the, I I made a 8-footer. I made a miraculous up and down here. Are there a couple moments, small moments throughout the match play and even stroke play portion of the tournament that you think, like, as you've reflected back a couple days now, were like so critical in you winning this tournament?
Absolutely. I would say I've kind of pinpointed two moments, and the first one's way more significant than the second one. The first one is the up and down on 18 against Tommy in the round of 64. Obviously that was my tournament on the line. Had to make par to extend the match. But yeah, that was you're completely dead long on 18, and I hit one of the best chips I've ever hit in my life, and was able to make a 4-footer. And then I got it done on the 19th hole. And then I'd say another big moment I had was against Little John. It was on hole 14, I believe, and we were tied. Maybe, yeah, I think we were. Yeah, we were tied. The match was tied, and he hits it to like 4 feet for birdie. After, and then I'm out. We both drive it. Hole 14 at Olympic, dogleg left. We both drive it over the bunker down the hill, and he hits a great shot, front right pin from like 75 yards, like 4 feet. And I kind of had a bad angle and took my medicine to like 12 feet, and I was able to make my putt. And then he went on to miss, and so I went into hole 15, which going into those last couple holes with a lead, just because there's par fives and there's birdies at play, are definitely big. So that was big.
Especially that short par three. I feel like you can get into that situation where you get the lead, then you get to hit first, and you can really apply a ton of pressure there. And it's match play is crazy. I imagine the opening match, you're playing one of the best players. He'll be a Walker Cup teammate now, but one of the best players in college golf. You had to feel a little bit of a retribution being the high seed, the 63 seed, playing after what happened to you in the junior, being the 1 seed and getting knocked out by a 64. I will say it was a tough draw as the 1 at the junior. You're playing one of the best players in junior golf in that opening match, but it had to feel great being able to be on the other side of that situation.
No, absolutely. Yeah. After the junior am, that hurt a little bit. It had been a while since I had won a match in match play. I had really struggled. Even like the AJGA at Bethpage Black, I lost my last match at a pool play, which knocked me out of the tournament. I went and played the AJGA Wyndham Cup out in Arizona, and I didn't win a match. I tied 2 and lost 2. So didn't pull my weight there. And I got to the Am, and that's where my caddy, Jimmy Gillum, really stepped in. He's got such a great match play mentality. And once I got myself, I lost the first 2 holes against Tommy. So I was 2 down through 2 quick, and I never had the lead until I won. But once I was able to win that first match, that gave me so much confidence going into the rest of the matches during match play.
I know you obviously you beat some of the best players in college golf. Tommy Morrison being one of them. But you run through this, you're playing, you're obviously a high school senior. Are there things that you see from the high level college players right now that you look at and you're like, I should tighten up this, even though you just won the USAM, the biggest amateur tournament in the world?
No, absolutely. There's some shots that I'm still like, that's such a junior golf shot. Like what like pin, like why am I firing at that pin ever? And just little, it's course management all. There's pins you fire at and there's pins you don't fire at. And sometimes you just have to be happy with the 20-footer. And then top level amateur players are really good at converting those 20-footers. So, and it's just keeping doubles off the card. Just little things like that you are way more prevalent in junior golf than amateur golf.
It's been a while since I played competitively, but as a mid-am, I kind of feel like I would always watch college kids and just be in awe of the short game. And I think so much of that is like time, you get to college golf, and golf is like a larger part of your life than it is in high school. And you just see, like, I'm always amazed when you watch, and this escalates up at the professional level, is just how crisp and tidy the short game gets, and the ability to read lies and everything that goes into like where they could get up and down from.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So I played against Eric Lee in my semifinals match, and I don't even think he would say that he hit it great, but his short game was unbelievable. He hit some of the greatest chips I've ever seen. You've played Olympic. He was way right of the bunkers on hole 8 to a back right pin, and he got it up and down. That was unbelievable. So just things like that. And then I think why college players are so like able to adapt to different courses and their short games travel with them is because during the college season, they're able to play so many different courses and they're traveling around the country to get used to so many different types of grasses. And so they just learn how to play different shots at different golf courses.
What are you most looking forward to about college golf?
Definitely looking forward to traveling with the team and high level competition. Just like every single time you tee it up, that there's other studs in the field.
I love the idea of like the practices, and the competition, just the competition you're able to cultivate when you go out and just start practicing.
Yeah, and that's something I've been fortunate down here in Thomasville. One of my best buddies, JD Colbreth, who's now a freshman at Georgia. He just left for college. I would play with him every day, and we're going to be teammates next year. But yeah, being able to practice with elite players will just make you an elite player. Yeah, and that's something that a lot of these colleges have.
Yeah, it's so you got a lot of carrots for this win. And I just want to reiterate the year you've had. Obviously, the U.S. Open local, the junior AM medalist, or the U.S. Open final qualifying medalist, co-medalist there with Jackson Buchanan, the U.S. junior medalist, and then now the USAM championship. You got tons of carrots with this. You got the U.S. Open next year at Shinnecock. You got the Masters invite, and you also have the Walker Cup. Is there one tournament you're most excited for?
No, absolutely. I am very pumped for the Walker Cup coming up. Cypress Point will be unbelievable.
Come back out to the Bay. I'll see you there.
Exactly. And sounds like we're going to be able to play some other sick courses while we're out there. And but obviously, I guess it's not. I won't officially know until December or over the winter sometime. But if I do get the invite to Augusta National, that will be an unbelievable experience.
See, you're playing your cards right here. You're saying I haven't gotten the invite yet, but have you been to Augusta yet?
I have been once. I went in 2019 to a Wednesday practice round with my dad, and yeah, unbelievable property. I've played Augusta Country Club a couple times, and you can like peek through the trees and see the golf course, and it's just like wow.
I mean, being a Georgia kid, that's got to be just one of the. Did you almost feel more pressure knowing that is traditionally on the line in the match to get into the semifinal match than you did almost in the finals?
Yeah, in that semifinal match, I like people say all the time like you got to channel it out. You got to channel it out. It was in my mind all day. Like that was not going anywhere. It was just playing with it. Like that was big confidence. Like I've made it this far. And then for the championship match, it was one of those things like you still got to play for a spot on the Walker Cup team. It's like it's not over yet. Getting second comes with a lot of perks, but so does first. And then yeah, back to the Masters. It's just like back at home. It's like an annual holiday. I remember in 8th grade, my math class, I walked in the class and my teacher just had it on their projector board. And so it's such a big deal.
Yeah, it's I can't imagine. You talked about like the being on your mind. And everybody talks about staying in the present. I found that maybe the worst thing ever is when you start thinking about what might come. It's just like a natural recipe to make a double bogey on the next hole. So when you start thinking ahead, what were you doing specifically to try and keep that out of your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just follow my caddy. Just random conversations or Just stay focused on the golf shot. Maybe I was overthinking my shots a little bit, or like walking in between holes, just flipping through my yardage book at stuff I've looked at it a million times, um, just to keep it off the front of my mind. It was always in the back of my mind, but just to try to stay as focused as possible at the task at hand.
What we'll do both Cypress and Augusta here. What are a couple things you're most excited about for Cypress? Is there, I'm assuming you've looked at photos, you've probably done some research on the golf course. What are the things that you're most excited about that week?
No, Cypress is just going to be awesome, obviously because of the location and the views on that golf course, and it's difficult. I've heard.
It's tricky. You can get it going though. Like it is very, very much like gettable.
But no, being a part of Team USA and just playing with the best aimers in the world. I mean, I wouldn't say it. I mean, it wasn't really on my bingo card coming to the summer. Obviously, I after playing in the U.S. Open, I knew I was going to be playing in the USAM. But I didn't even know the winner got a spot on the team until like the quarterfinal, after the quarterfinal match. So yeah, that wasn't on my bingo card, and so it's just been super special to be, and I'm honored to definitely be a part of that team.
And what about Augusta? Is that what are there holes? Or there what are you most excited about
Yeah,
getting out
yeah.
there?
Hopefully, yeah, playing amen corner in competition. I'm gonna see how I do. As long as I can keep the same ball in my pocket after all three holes, I think I'll be happy.
You just gotta hope for calm weather when you get to 12. Have it be windy for everybody else, and
Look up at this tree, the wind's going left to right, and I look at the tree on the other side of the hole and it's going right to left, then I'll be in some trouble.
it's I got to play it as a media member. They have a lottery for media members, and so it's, I mean, you will likely get the opportunity to play it a few times before, but like you stand on that tee and that's exactly what you're like. I felt like I was just looking at different trees and trying to figure it out. And yeah, that's and it was like, I was like, oh, I need to aim left, but I'm like, this might be the only time I'm here. I'm aiming right at the flag.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Aiming right at the flag will be something I'll do in the practice rounds. But if I happen to make it to Sunday, that back right, you can assure I'm taking it right over the middle of that bunker.
yeah, that's
Just in case I push it and
uh-huh.
it happens to end up right next to it.
Yeah, that's great. It's I'm excited for you. Looking forward to seeing you on TV here soon. I guess like last question. What are you said that Walker Cup wasn't even on your radar as a thing. What's now like you leave this, like what are the goals and in terms of what you want to accomplish before you get to college?
No, absolutely. I want to make the cuts in those pro starts I get next year. Oakmont, that was my big goal. Low am obviously a big goal, and I can still look back on so many shots that I left out there. And yeah, that making the cuts and being able to know that I can hang with those pros and pick up a couple more PGA Tour U points, so I'll be a little closer when I get to college. But no, it's college golf is so special. I want to build my ranking as much as I can. So when I get there, I'll have plenty of opportunities to play in big tournaments outside of the collegiate events. But yeah, just looking forward to the bonding with the team, and hopefully we'll kind of have my best stuff going throughout college, and hopefully get a little bit better.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. We'll see you in a couple weeks at Cypress Point. Feel free to reach out if you need any Bay Area recommendations or
Yeah,
anything. And look forward to following your career as you go forward. And congrats again on a historic and amazing win.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, let's take a quick break and go over to Andrew Bailey. But first, let's talk about our friends at Echo Golf. I gotta say, if you're playing in the USAM, you're playing a lot of golf, 36 hole days. Something that would be important: comfortable shoes, good shoes. Something that Andrew hits on in this interview is if you're playing morning golf at Olympic Club, your feet are going to get wet unless you've got Gore-Tex shoes. You know who makes the most comfortable and waterproof shoes in golf? Echo. So Echo, one of the things I appreciate about Echo is they are shoemakers. They make all different types of shoes, and a lot of the innovations in their golf shoes come from their other shoes that they make. So Echo owns their factories and their leather tanneries. It allows them to have full control over quality and craftsmanship. That's something that being a big shoe company that also makes golf shoes provides them. They launched their first golf shoe in 1996, and they signed Tour Pro Thomas Bjorn in 2000. Some of the technology that Echo uses across its shoes is, world class. They have the world's first design-led tannery leather maker. They have the HM100K waterproof technology. They have a, Prosoma heel cup. What this ensures is that every pair of these shoes is going to be comfortable and waterproof and of the best technology. They deliver all day comfort and are ideal for long rounds or walking golf courses, courses that I like playing. I don't like long rounds. I like walking courses. And if I was playing in the USAM, I'd be walking all day. So check out Echo and their shoes at us.echo.com, and you'll find their wide assortment of shoes. Thanks to Echo for the support, and let's get back to the podcast and Andrew Bailey. All right, Andrew, you've come a long way since the days that you were writing blogs on Fried Egg, on the Fried Egg. That was years ago, probably 8 years ago, writing about, I think you wrote about Yale, you wrote about Country Club of Buffalo, and maybe one other piece, right?
Meadowbrook.
That was good. The Meadowbrook was early. It was early in the love of Meadowbrook.
That was early. Yep. Yeah, introduced you to Sleepy Hollow after a fun night in downtown Cleveland. But yeah, former contributor no more. Happy to be back to being a current contributor today.
That's right. This is it. 7 years later, you're back on. You played the USAM last week. You played very well. You breezed through qualification. You were one of the handful of working stiffs that made the match play component. And I just wanted to get, you played last year at Hazeltine. You've won the Ohio Am twice in the last 3 years. And you also you qualified this year to the USAM. I wanted to get an idea of what you thought of the golf course, the Olympic Club, and the uniqueness of its tests versus other high level golf courses that you played in competition.
Yeah, well, I will say it was my first time playing a US Amateur where all 36 holes were on site of at one facility, similar like an Oakland Hills or a Winged Foot. I just think that I talked to Garrett Rank and other mid-am, it just like adds to the total essence of the event, having everybody on property there. But in terms of the golf course, last year at Hazeltine, I thought was maybe the most difficult golf course in the world for working stiff like myself that hits a 280-yard fade off of every hole. There was a bunker basically at a 310 carry on the left-hand side of every hole and an off-camber fairway that pushed your ball into 5-inch rough. So Olympic on the lake course felt a little bit more fair, really big in terms of scale, massive trees, big fairways, pretty generous greens that had a lot of internal movement. So it felt like it was a good setup golf course for a mid-am where if you got the ball in play and had a good day with your irons and had your speed down on the greens, you could actually shoot a score.
I was thinking about this while the tournament was going on. I was on vacation, but the one thing that I was watching pretty regularly and following was the Am, with obviously you in it. Niall Donegan was such a great story, but one of the things it got me thinking about was like the juxtaposition of last year at Hazeltine versus this year at Olympic Club, and just how it produces different players. Now, speed is always an advantage and power is always an advantage, but different golf courses can set up to create make that advantage a lot bigger. And I thought one of the things that Olympic Club did well, as I was thinking about the golf course, and is that it does allow, a pretty wide range of skill sets to come to the forefront, versus like if you think about Hazeltine, and especially you just look at like who's thrived there. It was just launch it, just hit it hard, hit it far, and then figure it out from there. It felt like at the Olympic Club there was like a very good variety of players. Did you think? What did you think about just the balance of the test that it provides?
Yeah, I thought it was really good as in terms of a second shot golf course. I actually, thought about it a decent bit before my red eye on the way home. About it has a lot of similarities, I think, to like a Winged Foot, where you have like the first hole where you are hitting shots and you can run a ball into that green. Then you have the second hole, and then it's a forced carry to a very demanding approach shot. So it's fun how the golf course presents itself, where you feel like you can use your 15th club, be in your brain a little bit to play to certain parts of the left-hand side or right-hand side of the hole and run a shot in there. But there's other holes where you're really telling yourself, all right, I need to hit a really good shot here, or else 5 or 6 is kind of staring at me in the face. So it felt like there was a little bit more variety. I really think the change to that 7th hole, I mean, it's my first time playing Olympic, but that 7th hole was so much fun to play. Just knowing that if you missed it a foot to the left-hand side there and the hole location was on the left, you had literally no chance. So it was nice to play a test that certainly rewarded angles and playing the ground game a little bit more, and you could be a bit more strategic opposed to others. I'd say the other USAM I've played that's similar to that is Pinehurst. The others I've played, being the Country Club at Brookline, Pebble Beach, and Hazeltine, all felt very transactional in the way they were testing the players.
Explain transactional.
Yeah, hit the fairway or else you're making bogey, basically. So, you certainly could advance the ball up into little spots around Olympic and in Pinehurst if you were able to understand the right place to miss. I think that, when you're playing practice rounds with some college kids, they're always hitting chip shots just 360 degrees around every green. And I never really saw that as being important. I think you should really be playing a practice round focusing, all right, where's the spot where I want to miss? Because this is actually where you could see a feasible spot of leaving your golf ball. And then when you get to like Hazeltine last year, I didn't drive the ball very well, but I was leaving myself so many 80, 70-yard shots into greens just because of how perched up the greens were and how severe they were and how fast and firm they were, where, you couldn't really use the green contours to your advantage to get a ball close and give yourself a chance at par if you were to push the ball up there.
With the other aspect of Olympic Club beyond it, it's just the natural elements there. How would you say it's unique in the sense of the lies that it presents you on the golf course, and then how does the weather elements factor in and make it unique in terms of championship golf?
Yeah, the lies are incredibly severe. I'm fortunate my home course, Canterbury, has a lot of off-camber fairways and a lot of uneven lies, so I'm pretty comfortable to play it. I'd say that Olympic Club is that times 2. It's a lot more severe in terms of its test. Northeast Ohio doesn't quite have the topography of San Francisco, but the weather was crazy. I'd say that you could almost get a 20-yard difference in terms of yardages from playing. I played 3 rounds at 7 a.m. When I was out there, both practice rounds being first off, and then my Tuesday second round of stroke play, I was first off. I usually hit a 5-iron 215 back home, and was pulling at 195 full tilt out there. So it's almost a 20-yard difference. And, as the day progresses and your body starts to warm up a little bit and, it starts to get a little warmer out, you have to be conscious of, the ball not going too far and kind of constantly adapting throughout the round.
What would you say percentage-wise, the rollback, the natural rollback that wind and weather creates. Is 10% about right? Maybe a little bit less than 10%.
I'd say it's less. I'd say it's less. So I had it's 7,250 on the card, I think is what they had it at. It really felt like a 7,600 yard golf course. You're playing in a cloud basically. So the fairways were pretty soft. The greens were on the softer side. Almost felt like they were firmer in the morning, but as the kind of humidity kept going up throughout the day, it almost felt like the greens softened up more and more, which is a bit different from what you'd expect from playing a usual round of golf. But yeah, it felt every bit of 7,600 for me out there.
What's it like, the atmosphere? Take us a little bit into playing a USAM as someone in their mid-30s with a real job. What is your week like when you're amongst all these basically college and junior kids?
Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, I show up and I'm the biggest fanboy in the world. I mean, I love that tournament, that championship more than anything. You show up into registration and the Havemeyer sitting right there, and I mean, if that doesn't get your blood going, I don't know what will. So it was my 10th USGA, and for it to be a USAM, that was a really special feeling for me. It just so happened that my mom and dad were out there to visit their grandkids. My brother's in Santa Clara, so it was a bit of a family week too. So I knew it was going to be kind of special before the week even started, regardless of what I shot. But in terms of my preparation, it is minimal compared to what a lot of these other guys are going through. I'm not a track man or a GC quad guy. Those were a dime a dozen throughout the range. I have a couple drills that I kind of rely on to get my swing into a decent spot before I go play. But as soon as I'm done playing my practice round, I don't practice unless there's like a red flashing light in my mind where I'm like, I'm going to get completely exposed if I don't address this part of my game. But for me, it was just going out there and enjoying it, getting to soak in as much of the surrounding golf as I could. So played Lake Merced on Friday, actually got paired up with last year's runner-up Noah Kent out there, and Dana Fry is his father-in-law, was walking along with him. So I played with Shelly, my wife, out at Lake Merced, and shout out to Pat Steffes for having us out. And that was a cool start to the week to get another lap in, kind of, to our previous point, experience how much shorter the ball's flying compared to usual. I think that was a nice added addition to me. But on top of that, it was I went through 3 caddies, so I was full Colin Morikawa out there. Shelly caddied for me in the practice rounds. Mutual friend of ours, Aaron Wright, who I met at a fried egg event years ago, caddied for me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Aaron got the polite ask to head back home Wednesday afternoon. So my brother stepped in on the bag for the round of 32. So for me, it was just embracing the whole thing, getting out there, trying to play the best of my ability.
Your brother's Scotty's version of the chaplain.
That's exactly right.
Where, Scotty can't win with the chaplain on the bag. He had another new caddy this week. He wins. And your brother is to blame for the round of 32 loss.
Yeah, that's my story too, and I'm sticking to it. So no, it was at first I asked him if he wanted to do it. I said, hey, will you caddy for me tomorrow? And immediate reply was no. So my mom ended up convincing him that she wanted to see him on the bag. So it was cool regardless of my play. The round of 32 was really sweet, except for how I played.
I was bummed. I was out of town I was on vacation, and I wanted to be at the USAM all week, and then I got asked if I could find a caddy for a young player who's pretty high profile young college player, and I set up a buddy of mine with it, and they went, but like I was thinking about it. It's like I probably would have caddied if I was around, but then I started to think about caddying and something like that. And the reality of the situation is that if you caddy, you're 1,000% more nervous than the player when you're caddying. Like you have more anxiety about every shot. It would have just been 5 days of like off the charts anxiety for me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it too. And it's not the easiest walk on the lake course either. If you're playing early, you better wear waterproof shoes. Otherwise, you're going to have wet socks for the majority of the day. But yeah, IB was definitely had the adrenaline rolling, came in hot with a couple cups of coffee, and you could tell he had the nerves going.
Over caffeinated when caddying. With the young players, you played golf in college at Cleveland State. What would you say is the difference in today's high school? Obviously, we saw a high schooler win it. Are the high schoolers in collegiate players today versus 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think distance is just increasingly more important. I'm hitting the ball further than I ever have in my life in my early 30s, but I couldn't believe just watching the final yesterday how far both Howell and Harrington were hitting it. I mean, the drive that Harrington hit on 6 to fly that bunker and have 140 yards on. In my round of 32 match, I hit full tilt 4-iron in there. So it's like, I cannot believe the sheer distance that a lot of the guys are hitting. But I just think that technology, and I've thought about this a little bit just throughout the last few years, I just think that technology and so many things and data has just made it so concretely, decisive on how these guys can improve. I mean, using Decade and all these different launch monitors just to tell you precisely like, hey, if you follow these steps and you do these workouts and you just go ahead and practice these ways with these certain things, you're going to continue to get better and better and better. And I just think if you look at across college golf, scoring averages are just down. And, through a lot of these championships, the match play cut line compared to, 2007 when it was 7 over, I think the play is just getting so much better.
Yeah, you look at even down to like what it takes to get into state am now versus 15 years ago. It's like you better shoot even par or better if you want to qualify for a state am, depending on the state, maybe even better than that. And it used to be like, oh, go out and shoot 74 or 75 and you're in. I think that I think you hit the nail on the head. Particularly, I think like the strategy. There's obviously Decade, I think, was the kind of the pioneer, and there's a bunch of other people that do strategy now for these kids. But like a Decade effectively teaches you what I felt like I learned when I was like 28 years old.
Totally.
And it teaches these kids at 14 how to play. I will say though, like I am amazed when you watch the am, like how many bad places they still find themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's another thing about Olympic there that I didn't talk about yet. Is one of the hardest things for me is that like a 5 to 8 mile an hour wind, 10 mile an hour wind out there moves the ball so much. It just like you have to almost play like it's a 30 mile an hour wind, and it just barely feels like it's coming off your left hand side. So I think it's really easy just as a player to, for folks that haven't played in San Francisco and that dense of an air that much, to just like defaultly go after pins and you're not even trying to. I mean, I had that happen numerous times throughout the week where you have to err so far on the side of caution and you still might hit what would be deemed to be an aggressive golf shot.
I would compare it for people that haven't, like for anybody that plays golf in northern climates, it's like when you've played summer golf all year and you get that first cold wind, like that comes out of the north and the ball just like seemingly falls out of the sky. You're hitting your first shot into the wind. That's what playing golf there with the wind's like. It's just this like kind of like very heavy, very forceful wind, even when it's relatively light in terms of mile per hour.
100%. Yeah. And, with the way that a lot of the fairways are contoured too, your ball's coming off with a lot of cut spin. I think about the 12th hole a lot where, that fairway number one is impossible to hit for a fader of the ball. Yeah. But if you're hitting out of that fairway, for me, the majority for my third shot, you're trying to get it relatively close on your third. But, with how much a wedge is spinning, in that air and it's coming off of a side hill lie and you have a 5 mile an hour wind off your left, it's like a wedge is moving 25 yards in the air. It's like, how is this happening? It's pretty crazy.
I think that's a golf course where you just can't fake it. It's because of the lie. There's such complexity to the shots. And I'll be very interested to see the pros play it in the PGA and the Ryder Cup coming up there. Just because the complexity of the shots, like from the fairways, you just think about the variety of them out of the gate. I talked about this in a preview of our last podcast, but you just right out of the gates, one, you're hitting from like a ball below your feet. Two, the ball's above your feet. Three, you're hitting dramatically downhill. Four, you're hitting, you have a side hill uphill lie to an elevated target. Five, it comes back the opposite way. It's just like the amount of different shots. Like if you have any weaknesses in your iron play, that golf course is going to find it and expose it really quickly.
Totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. But I thought the first five were really cool and how like each hole was a different test. It didn't feel like it was you're playing the same hole over and over again. That's just beating you up. But I mean, the sixth hole too is just is so difficult. So I mean, the start out there is just is super super fun, but it's also brutal at the same time.
How do you, everybody says play the same way in match play as you play in stroke play. Do you see yourself play differently? And I think it's impossible to compartmentalize that way. But does your approach change when you get into a match play portion of one of these championships?
Yeah, I certainly try to play the same way. I mean, I told myself to play the same way because I had just played one of the better competitive rounds of my life the day before. So I just said, all right, like just play how you did. And if you shoot 2 under, you might have a chance of winning. So, I do think that if you just par the course to death and kind of let your birdie chances come in a USGA event, it's essentially playing US Open light out there. So pars are always going to be good scores. I'd say when it comes to match play, my number one thought is, double down on the tee shot, just try to get the ball in play. And from there, you can kind of let your opponent show you some weaknesses. But as long as you're playing really solid golf and, you're still able to find a handful of holes throughout the round to maybe be a bit more aggressive on, I think I tend to look at the pin sheet a bit more saying, all right, if the wind is here and, you got the pin on the front left, I think we can be a bit more aggressive with that hole, just being more comfortable over others. But, it's still thinking about it as an 18-hole match. I don't really think that if you come into a match just trying to get up super early, oftentimes you get down early and then you're just playing catch up and, your plan goes out the window. So.
All right. Most of the people listening to this podcast are working stiffs. What are the keys to staying sharp while maintaining a job? You don't have a kid, too. I want to preface this.
I don't have a kid. We haven't been fortunate enough to have that happen yet. So, we're hoping. But
you're pre-kid, but with a demanding job, what is the keys to your golf game and staying sharp?
Yeah, my brother would say my most endearing quality is that I don't practice, which a lot of people I'm sure hate. So
hold on, I want to pause here too because I'm kind of the same belief. If everything's good with my golf swing, I don't want to hit balls.
Totally.
Because the only thing I'm going to do is get myself out of it. And if things are bad, I almost feel like I'm going to make them worse if I go to the range.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say this, if I'm thinking of some of the best players that I've had a chance to be around, even legends of the game like Vinny Giles, and just Vinny stretches for 45 minutes a day. And for me, it's I've taken more of an approach to stretch this year. I've heard Russell Henley talk about it this year, where he goes practicing for me isn't going to the range; it's just making sure that my body can do what I want it to do. So with as much as I travel, going over 100 nights a year, it's just spend 10 to 15 minutes a day for me to stretch and make sure I'm more limber, that it's not going to take me maybe 5 holes to warm up, or it's going to take me a couple days to warm up and get into a tournament. And by that time, you're already out of the gates. And then I would say just, developing more of a consistent routine when it comes to if you do have the chance to practice, how you're doing it. So, in my office, I have a mirror. And if I have 5 minutes and I can hit 20 putts a day just on the mirror to make sure that my setup's good, I think that's fine. But I have a couple drills that I've been doing over the last 5 years in my swing that, to your point, haven't been steering me in the wrong direction. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. And consistency is key.
I think the stretching thing is it hits on a bigger point. When you boil down the golf swing, it's just getting your body to move. It's a movement. And if you regularly stretch, you're putting yourself in the best position to make a quality movement regularly. Because that's what I feel. I don't stretch enough. But like, if I get to day 3 of a golf trip, I like start to hit the ball 15 yards further. And it's like, oh, my body's finally like loosened up and back to swinging a golf club. Now, day 4, I get tired and then it goes downhill. But I always say, like, day 3, it's my peak day of a golf trip. But like, I think like, setup is another aspect of just being ready and being prepared to make a move. And I would echo what you say, getting your body ready to move and setting up the ball with the, right setting up I think it's the hardest part about golf.
Yeah. I mean, look at the best players in the world. I think more and more are just starting to work on fundamentals, and they do, the same drills over and over and over again. And to me, it just produces consistency and predictability. I think the more you're constantly changing things on the fly, the more things can go wrong. And the more that you kind of just own what your game is and just say, hey, this is it, and I'm going to be the best version of what my golf game is, the better your results are going to be.
Let's talk a little bit about Stu Hagestad. He's going to make his 5th Walker Cup appearance. What would you do you think that this is ever going to be really done again in terms of just I don't think people realize how challenging it is. There's one mid-am spot a year, or every 2 years, and he's managed to put together 5 appearances. Probably not his last one. Can you put into like how good he's been for a long time on the mid-am scene for people that do not really follow that?
It's unbelievable. First of all, yeah, shout out and congrats to Stu. It's unbelievable. I will say I'm gutted for Evan. Evan's a good friend, and he had a great run. But Stu is a total legend of mid-amateur golf. I mean, he's undefeated in singles in the Walker Cup, and if I was a betting man, I'd say that he continues that in a couple of weeks out at Cyprus. But he's certainly the gold standard of how you're able to keep performing year over year. Talk about someone who's consistent. I think just from watching Stu play and practice, he does the exact same putting drill every time I see him. He warms up exactly the same every single time I see him. I don't think he's changed his bag setup in maybe the last decade or decade and a half. So I think that he is one of the smartest guys in knowing how to approach a USGA championship too. He is very much a chess player when it comes to getting through stroke play and then into match play. And then I think I need to talk to him about how to play match play, because I certainly haven't figured it out, but that guy knows how to do it.
It's, like you see it too, is like, just in terms of like the level of player, and people can say what they want to say about time and everything, but like the talent level shows through, I think, the most when he plays in the Masters. And obviously he had the made cut. I think he finished T27 the 1 year. But even I think it was 2 years ago, like he missed the cut by 1 shot. And you see so many times, like you get these abs and it's just DFL, right? Like this is, I think that, this is like a story in golf that, because it's mid-am golf, it's not, really covered. I don't think amateur golf in general. I was actually like, I was very impressed last week with like how much attention this tournament got. I was like very pleasantly surprised. I got thinking about like how I could just watch amateur golf all the time and be pretty content as a golf fan. Like I don't necessarily need the FedEx Cup playoffs in my life. It might be just like fatigue at this point, but like this story, the longevity of how at such a high level in one subset of golf is astounding.
It is. I mean, it's it's something that it's so hard for any other mid-am. You're like, God, this is the guy that you have to catch. It almost feels like Tiger-esque to a certain point when it comes to the Walker Cup spot, where it's death taxes and Stu getting the mid-am spot on the Walker Cup. So but to your point about watching amateur golf, I will fully echo that. I mean, I was so jealous of the folks that I got to be inside the ropes playing this week, but getting to watch some of those matches, or getting to watch some of the stroke play, like watching Koiven, Ethan Fang, and Ben James go out, like right as I was finishing, I'm like, I just played 18 holes, but I kind of want to go watch these guys play right now, because you get to walk right down the fairway with them, and you're seeing the next level of world beaters in an up close and personal aspect. I got to go spectate the U.S. Open this year, and I'm like, why would I ever want to go do that when I can just go watch the USAM down the line and get to pick and choose what shots I want to see? So it's cool to be a part of, but I fully agree with you that amateur golf is where it's at right now.
The you make a great point, right? Like, you went to a couple rounds of the U.S. Open this year, and in terms of like a spectator experience, it's not even a contest. And I think like where people like might not go is like, well, Scotty and Rory aren't there, but they were there 10 years earlier. And the reality is, like, you go watch Koiven, James, and Ethan Fang. One of those guys is going to be a big name on the PGA Tour, and you'll be able to say, oh, look, I watched this there. Like, next year, St. Marion, you're getting to see them at the greatest golf courses in the world as well. Like, you got Marion, Oak Hill, Whistling Straits, Inverness is coming up, but the quality of golf course and then the quality of players is, I mean, I think this is going to start becoming more and more popular. You just see it with like the cost of broadcasting these events is going down. The appetite for so many different streaming companies to have sports is so high that there's no way that the amateur and collegiate golf doesn't get more popular in the coming years. Last question for you, getting you out of here. How do you go about, like, kind of, do you set goals with your golf game, or do you just kind of take it the way it goes?
I've always been a goal setter, so I certainly have goals. They're not, the ones that are just like driving every intention of my day. But, for me, I text a couple guys, texted me saying, congrats on your play. For me, making it to the dance, as I call it, of a U.S. amateur was always a goal of mine. And so to do it and then to win a match was like, okay, wow, like, all right, well, I hit that goal. That's pretty sweet. So, I certainly like to set goals. When it comes to golf, only playing in about 6 tournaments a year, it's not like I'm driving my entire life around these goals, but I certainly think it's important. If you're not setting goals, it's tough to improve in my eyes.
So next for you got the Mid-Am?
Mid-Am, yep. And then the Crump at the end of September, and that's a wrap on 25.
Enjoy Arizona in September. Here it's beautiful.
I know. I think I need to invest in a set of arm sleeves.
Call up Dylan Fratelli. He might have some good recommendations.
I know. Yeah, I'm not tougher than the sun. I've been known to wear a bucket hat, so I'll probably be full bucket arm sleeves out there. Sunscreen on the nose, the whole show.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, chatting about your experience at the USAM, and look forward to having one of these maybe after you take down one of these.
Oh, I appreciate it, Andy. Good to catch up as always. Thanks, bud.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Friday Golf Podcast. We will be back next week. Big thanks to PJ Clark for editing and producing this show. We hope you enjoyed it. We enjoy the amateur golf hour here. We're going to have a lot more amateur golf coverage as we have Cypress Point coming up. We'll have a Cypress video dropping pretty soon on our YouTube video. Go check that out. I just watched a draft last night. I enjoyed it. Couldn't take my eyes off it. So check that out on our YouTube page. That'll be coming soon. And we look forward to the Walker Cup coming up at Cypress Point. We'll see Mason Howell there. We won't see Andrew Bailey. Stu Hagestad got that last spot, as we talked about, but we'll see Mason Howell there, and can't wait for the Walker Cup at Cypress Point, the USGA's one of their premier events. Thank you, and we'll be back next week.